what do you do?
All right, Josh, I'm Nicholas Schmid. I'm an HR business partner for City National Bank. I've been operating in HR capacity for about 10 years. Just about 7 of those have been with the bank. So as an HR business partner, I cover the personal and business banking division, which is a fancier word for saying our branches and our business bankers and our credit group.
And tell me about that journey of getting into HR. What did you do to land your first HR job? How did that transition occur?
Yeah, I unfortunately graduated from my bachelor's at Cal Poly at a really challenging time, 2008. Some people might know of it, but I graduated with a degree in marketing, which is what I wanted to do. And after a good year or two of applying for marketing jobs, I realized, this economy was going to have a bigger impact on my development and career growth than I anticipated. So decided that I wanted to do HR as a backup. And I went and completed an HR certificate with UCLA. But I didn't land my first HR job until about 4 years after college. And I did that by way of the certificate program. So.
And then after a certificate program, talk to me about the tangible steps that you made to ensure they had continued growth within HR. So you didn't just get your first job and stay stagnant, but you ensured that you kept growing, you kept learning, and you were able to get to where you are now.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm a high energy guy, so I'm kind of just take advantage of every opportunity that I have. So I met the VP of HR of my first company in that certificate program. She offered me a position with as her admin specialist. And in that, I got a lot of exposure to basically everything that funnels through HR. I was in a support role for her, but I also was in a project role. So I got a lot of exposure to benefits and payroll, ER stuff, which is employee relations, compensation, basically everything. And I continued to volunteer and do well at the things that she was exposing me to. And realizing I was doing those things well, she kept giving me more. So in an admin role, just in 2.5 years, I took on quite a bit of ownership of a number of things. Unfortunately, that employer didn't have much room for growth. They had a very young team, and the size of the company wasn't changing. So there wasn't much for me to go into. I think at that time I wanted to be a generalist because I was more interested in the ER stuff. And realizing after about 2.5 years that I was kind of capped out there and wanted more, I sought out the bank HR business partner, and I got that position also through networking through the UCLA certificate program. So one of my instructors worked in the HR program for City National Bank, extended the offer to me. And once I took on that role, it's the same thing, just auto and repeat, volunteer for as much as I can volunteer for, do as well as I could, and just continue to push forward. And really setting expectations with my management team that, hey, I throw as much out at me as you can. I promise you I'll do that work well, but know that my expectation is in a couple of years, I want a bigger challenge. I want something more. And if that means taking on different roles or more work or promotion, so be it. So just in the 6.5 years I've been with the bank, I've been promoted 3 or 4 times, and most recently just last week. So,
Hey, congratulations.
thank you.
And I really like that part of your story that you kept going after these opportunities, because I think there's something that people often forget is that there aren't always opportunities. So often when we go through, I would say like dry spells of opportunity, we go, oh, I really wish we had something, that we go after, prove ourselves that would enable our career growth. And we forget that those curves, it's sort of like a curve that always have, just like the economy, right? We have a crash, whatever may happen. So making sure you take advantage of those opportunities when you have the chance is so important.
Yeah,
Now,
I'll add one more piece, Josh, and it's not just about waiting for opportunities. Sometimes it's about creating opportunities, right? If you're in the weeds every day with a particular process and you see a way to enhance it and or change it, you need to speak up, because that's what gets a lot of attention for you. So create opportunities just as much as you take advantage of ones that are afforded to you.
so true. And then along this journey, you're picking up different skills, especially as your career is progressing and you're getting better positions, what are some of the skills that you think are really valuable that enable you to be successful at your job?
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to be an HR generalist, which is kind of a jack of all trades. And I knew that in order to be a useful generalist, you need to have exposure in a number of areas. So a lot of the things that I volunteered for, the projects, gave me the opportunity to work with these different groups: training, payroll, compensation, benefits, the business partners. You know, I would encourage somebody, even if they're a payroll specialist, to get as much exposure to those groups as possible, because it makes you well-rounded as an HR professional. My end goal was always the business partner role, which I stepped into full-time last week. I've been kind of in a hybrid role this last 2 or 3 years. But those are your modern day generalists, if you will. But they're a little bit more ingrained in the business, and they're a little bit more ingrained in the business strategy. So I really like the HR business partner role. It's got a lot of focus on employee relations, performance management, succession planning, things like that, that your typical, 1990s, early 2000s HR role didn't have. We were the personnel department some odd, 2 decades ago. This HR business partner role is a really neat, dynamic role that really gets you involved in the business a little bit more. So, but again, getting exposure to a number of areas, functional areas within HR, I think is important.
It's so true. I love the HR business role. And I think part of it, and what we often forget, is every role within a business is a business role. And it's important to eventually understand the entire ecosystem of the business, at least to have some idea of how it operates. That way, when you're in stakeholder meetings, you can speak to the business side. And like you said, I do think, the new generalist is really the HR business partner, and it is going more and more in that direction. Now,
Absolutely.
when it comes to, let's say, your daily routine or weekly routine, you're using different tools to help you do your job better. What are some of your favorite tools that you're using right now?
Obviously, we have an HRIS system, which is UltiPro. That's our human resources information system. That's kind of our mothership, if you will, for data. But I use pretty much everything within Outlook. I use PowerPoint for presentations. I use Excel for reporting. I use Word for drafting memorandums, Outlook obviously for daily correspondence. But outside of that, we have a talent acquisition ATS, applicant tracking system, which is ADP RM. It's okay. It's not bad. We're looking to merge to Workforce in the next couple of years, I think. So that'll be useful. But in HR, you have your standard applications and systems, but I think you also have a lot of opportunity to get additional knowledge from joining groups like Pyra or SHRM or just joining any sort of seminar that comes your way. Oftentimes, groups within HR and or legal will share conferences, seminars that are on various topics. We get exposure, we get new information from those as well. And I personally like to use HR California, which is part of Cal Chambers, as a reference tool too for up to date. There's a lot obviously with COVID right now, so getting up to date information from that source as well. So.
And I appreciate you mentioning all those tools. And if you're watching this video, some of those tools will be linked in the description below, so you can check them out. Now, as an HR business partner, you did go through this progression where you didn't just start there. And it takes a good amount of understanding to know what role you'll enjoy. So can you talk about that journey of identifying what role in HR that is right for you? And
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't sit still. I can't do one job day in and day out. And the role within HR that had the most variety in my day was what I perceived to be the generalist and or the HR business partner, depending on the size of your organization. So I always knew from the get-go that's what I wanted to do. But when I got more ingrained in compensation, when I got more ingrained in training and development and realized what these folks do day in and day out, there was a fairly significant attraction to those groups. and I strongly considered, making lateral moves to those groups to get additional exposure. I think the most important thing is in the HR business partner role where I landed is understanding the business. And that's where I've been spending most of my energy this last couple of years. It's really getting to understand business banking, middle market credit lending, branch banking, just how we operate as a bank and how we service our clients, which is changing daily because technology is obviously changing the way we bank. But again, it goes back to getting exposure to these areas to give yourself some visibility into what these folks do day in and day out. I was always dead set on the business partner role, though.
And with identifying a role, there's going to be unique challenges, especially as the HR industry continues to change. What we've seen over the last year and a half has been pretty crazy in terms of all the new responsibilities that HR professionals have to take on. And then we also have things like social media. And then different HR professionals are saying, hey, we're going to be moving to mostly remote workforce. Some are saying, hey, people are going to be coming back. It's going to be balanced. What is your take on where the future of HR is going?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be more data driven. The more our reporting and the more our systems get antiquated and sophisticated, I'm realizing as a business we're relying more on data. COVID threw us a curveball because in my particular organization, we are the COVID primary point of contact. So I'm over here assessing exposures, working with CDC guidelines, quarantining folks, making sure we're in compliance with the supplemental sick pay laws in California and LA County. That's been pretty interesting, but that's a really good example of how in this particular role, we need to be able to be flexible and kind of move with the ocean because the role looks different. The role mimics how the business looks, and so we need to be prepared to do that. But we're definitely going to be more data driven. I think we're going to be. I think with the millennial group, the millennials kind of, and I'm a millennial, barely, kind of taking the wave through the workforce and having different requests or needs as employees, we are going to see a stronger shift in remote work to talk to that topic. And I think the pandemic actually kind of catapulted us in that direction. In a matter of 6 months, we went from a bullpen type environment where this open concept where we remove offices and we're all sitting in this little area and we're all collaborating and working together to work from home and be fully isolated. And I think that's a bit of a shock for people, but I don't see us going back to that type of work setting anytime soon, obviously. Our organization is taking a fairly conservative approach with the pandemic. And so we're probably going to end up going to a rotating remote schedule when we do go back in the branch, the office, which might be 2 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on, 2 days off. And we might do that. And, until the rest of our days, we might just have this remote work schedule now. So work-life balance is obviously important to millennials, having purpose. There's a lot of things that we're realizing now as an organization as the boomers leave the workforce and the millennials come in that we need to cater to. And we're slowly doing that. So obviously the human resources group is spearheading a lot of that change, working with the business units, but you need to be open to change. You need to be able to adapt to change, especially in the HR business partner role. So,
And as this role changes from all these different industry events happening, what we're seeing is new hurdles in the workplace. And there's also common hurdles that HR business partners face that are not necessarily unique to the time, but maybe it's communication hurdles such as working with stakeholders, whatever it may be. Can you talk with us about some of these hurdles and how to solve them?
yeah, I mean, the biggest hurdle for me is keeping the business happy while still adhering to HR's objective and the direction that they're broadcasting. We have different regions, divisions within the bank. And so each one operates as its own little entity, right? And so I know my division. I know what they need. I know what they want. And so I can service them. But, I might be servicing the real estate banking group tomorrow or commercial lending or whatever it might be. I don't know what's going to happen staff-wise. And so I need to be able to adjust to that. But the biggest challenge for me, apart from the pandemic, has been kind of just going with the flow and adhering to the business needs. So personally, I'm a very change isn't an issue for me, so I don't struggle too much with that. But I know others within our group have a have challenges at times adapting to change, and I think as we continue to change quite a bit, and specifically this function, this role, again, people need to be flexible. So I personally don't have too many challenges, but understanding the business needs and catering to them while still enforcing policy the way it's intended to be is one of the challenges, I'd say.
Yeah, I think the trick is always just trying to find the balance, right? And it takes a lot of work to do that. Now, for people watching, many of them are looking to become an HR business partner. And can you talk us through what are some steps that they could take today to be able to get into that role in the future? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, again, because this is the modern day, I mean, generalist role is still very much around, but again, getting exposure to different HR functional areas within your business. To be a HR business partner, you need to understand the business, whether it's property management, retail, whether it's banking, whatever it might be, investment banking. You need to understand the business. And so again, volunteer, 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 have a mentor internally, ask questions, even if you think they're stupid questions. These are all things that are going to get you exposure. Take the training classes that your company offers. Get approval for training outside of work. Maybe you get a master's degree. Whatever you need to do to continually have that exposure. But the HR business partner role has always been kind of my end goal. I'm only 37. There's a manager role above that, and then there's your head of HR. And those are certainly, in my sights. But I also understand that I'm not going to learn everything I need to overnight. I'm not going to learn it necessarily in 5 years. And so as long as I'm continuing to push myself, ask the right questions and put myself at the front of the line, everything else will kind of come naturally. So I think millennials have a tendency to want to do things right away, all at once. And I personally had a humbling experience where, the timing of transitioning to this recent role, took about 3 years. I had to go into a hybrid role, even though I was still on the talent acquisition team for 2.5 years, simply because we didn't have the FTE. Ego aside, yeah, that bothered me, but you kind of just have to accept for what it is and continue pushing through, and your time will come. So timing's important. Have patience and just stay focused, but it's not going to happen overnight. So.
And before we hop off, is there anything else that you want to tell the students watching about HR, or whether that's how to break into HR or just level up their career?
No, I think the certificate programs are really important. They give you some pretty good exposure. I think getting your, I don't know what the certification is called today. It used to be called your PHR, SPHR. I think that's probably what they're still called, but pursue that at some point. If you want to get a graduate degree, again, it's all about exposure. I don't retain things like a lot of folks do, and so more exposure, the better. But continue to set yourself apart from your peers. Obviously, we all work together, but there's a competitive nature in all of us, and continue to do whatever you have to do to set yourself apart. Additional education, certificates, licensing, volunteering, taking on projects, taking lateral moves out of need. Do whatever you have to do, and join the Pyros, join the Sherms, and continue to get exposure that way. So just really put yourself out there, have patience, and do what you do well. So that's it.
Well, Nicholas, it was good to have you on. I appreciate you giving us all this information about how to level up your career in HR. And thank you to everybody for watching today.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Have a good one, Josh.